Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Metaphysical podcast. Today is January 18th,
It's a day.
2023. I know what day of the, and it's Wednesday. So I'm
Yay.
batting 1,000. I know the date and the day of the week. I'm
Cool.
oriented times time to time and place,
Perfect. At
which
least one of us is.
which which is interesting because that's kind of what we were talking about before we came on today.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the direction they want us to go. So you want to start that conversation about multidimensional?
Okay. Earlier today, someone called me in a panic because they had started feeling the way they described it was phasing into another place.
Hmm.
And they were meditating at the time. And to me, that really says, they were slipping into another dimension. Normally that happens with me when I'm meditating or zoning off in some way. But it brought up a series of questions from this person. Have I lost my mind? Am I hallucinating? Am I going crazy? Have I already been crazy? And it's really for people just starting out. The first time that happened to me, I kind of thought I'd lost it too,
Hmm.
you know. But there's so many more dimensions and realities than what we realize.
Well,
Um,
there's also by locating, right?
right,
Being,
right,
I remember
right.
being a little kid, and I was at camp, and I was standing on the balcony or of the building at camp. The next thing I know, I was at home in my house, and then someone called my name, and I was back on the balcony at camp.
Yeah,
I think I was 11.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't think any of my camp counselors were going to be able to help me manage that one.
No. No, probably not. And that is a really common question that I get from clients
Mhm.
about different dimensions. A few people that have woken up very recently, and waking up is a process. It's not one day, boom, you're there. It is a process, and I think a lot of people just starting on that journey,
Mhm.
when you come across things today, we have many people like you and I that
Mhm.
people can reach out to
Yes.
and ask questions. When I was going through this, when you were there, that was not the case.
Mhm.
We were just deemed crazy or overly creative or whatever, and ignored pretty much. So I think that's something that we have today that we didn't always have. So people who are just waking up now, you've got a lot more support than
Well,
other people had.
you have TV shows about it. Like there's a lot on Gaia TV. You also have a lot of shows about mediums. So it's much more talked about now how thin the veil is, and that
Right.
people, I mean, like Reiki is such a common word in language now, and most people know. But I remember 5 years ago that was not the case.
Not the case. Not the case.
So
No.
just want to welcome all our viewers who are watching us live. Please feel free to put in any questions in the comments section and we will address them in real time. And like we've said before, we usually don't read people's names because the shows kind of goes all over the world and not everyone is comfortable having their name shared on a podcast. So everyone wonders why we don't say your names on a podcast. That's why we'll just say viewer or one of the people who was watching us live. Mm, So, yeah. So multi dimensions.
Yeah, and there's also um, different things besides even bilocating. Every once in a while, at least in my world, because I can see and I am so connected, I do get the little, Star Trek beaming down an alien here and there. To me, that's what it's like.
Mhm.
I've heard other people describe it in other ways, but the first time, we've got some funny people
Okay,
watching today.
say my name. My name.
But the first time that happened to me and I was able to see and interact with another being, that was startling, completely startling. Um, Visions are always interesting in my world.
Have I ever shared my story with Reiki? Because it's
No,
really
what's your Reiki story?
so I think it was Reiki 2 or Reiki 3. She was doing it was after the attunement, and I was sitting in the room and I see these little silver beings. They're just sitting there with me in the room. I'm like, can the rest of you see them? And the teacher's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, there's other beings here with us in class helping us
Yep.
the energies. And she's just looking at me like I have three heads.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Palladians came to hang out with me after the attunement.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the days when I was doing massage therapy, I would incorporate Reiki or other healing energies into my massages. And I started noticing that these blue beings kept appearing every time I would start working. And it took me a while because I didn't want to say anything to my client. Oh, hey, look, there's blue beings, you know. But eventually one of my clients also noticed them and she went, whoa, who are they? And I'm like, wish I could tell you, because at that time I had no idea. I was
Mhm,
just working with so many different healing modalities that
mhm.
these guys came through. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? But that stuff does happen.
Yeah, there's been a lot lately with the Lemurians coming back in.
Yeah,
And I feel like Atlantis is starting to resurface again, so to speak, and is coming back into consciousness. I know it's come up a couple times when I've done readings in the
yeah.
past few weeks. So it's just really interesting. So there's things about those cultures that they really want us to pay attention to. And some of that knowledge to help humanity right now is really important.
Well, and that's the thing too, is collectively
Mhm,
other beings and truthfully governments on earth that have been hiding all this stuff for eons, um, uh, they want us to wake up at this point.
mhm,
They want us to realize what we are, who we are, why we're here. And I think even though it's going slower
mhm,
than was anticipated, like really slow, we are getting there collectively. And
mhm,
I'm trying really hard these days to notice the people who are waking up rather than the mass that is not.
mhm.
So, but yeah, different people are experiencing different dimensions, different beings. It's really kind of an exciting time to be on the planet.
It is, and it also seems to be a time for lessons. Um, as I'm going through a bunch of them right now.
Yeah,
Um, but it seems to be a time for us to really stop and take a look at who we are as an individual and what we want to put into the collective.
right,
And is that vibration helping us as a collective or is it hurting us as a collective? And to
right.
really be conscious of that. No idea why I'm talking about this, but alrighty then.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to me because so many people have been on so many different journeys that I know,
Mhm,
my friends, people close to me. And it seems like we're all either going back 10 years, let's revisit those lessons, or we're trying to figure out, okay, where is here? Where am I? What am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? And it's either one of the two. People are either going back in time or they're trying to spring forward. For me, what has happened a lot lately is all of a sudden I've been getting calls to go on other podcasts and other TV shows. And it's kind of freaky to me because what they want to talk about almost exclusively really is the book that came out, almost 10 years ago. And like, ooh, you on a 10-year time delay? I mean, because but now I'm re-releasing it. So I guess that needed to happen. But the one thing that has been going on forever and it will continue forever, if your calling is calling you, it will continue calling you. That thing that speaks to your heart and soul, that's gonna be there. And I think more of us are going to start bringing that forward where we may have been kind of hiding, not really completely out there. I think you're going to see more and more people just be open and blatant.
I don't mean to be laughing, but my spirit team is being really funny right now. So, you know the signs in hotels that say "You are here"?
Yeah.
So they've drawn me a multi-dimensional map, and depending on where I am, they're pointing, "No, now you're here. No, now you're here. No, now you're here."
Everywhere at once. You know, that there are so many different schools of thought that I just find so intriguing because really they could all be right.
Mhm,
And that's kind of mind blowing unless you're ready for that sort of concept.
mhm.
Yeah, you are here and there and over there too.
They're just laughing and pointing. They think it's hysterical, so they just keep moving the red dot. They just put the red dot up and now move it over here, and it's just really funny. They've never quite shown me that before, so I thought it was
That's interesting. Very cool.
so, do any of our, viewers have any questions for us?
They're thinking.
One of our viewers was teasing us that they wanted us to say her name out loud. I said earlier, "Say
Yes.
my name."
Hmm.
Hello, all of you who are watching us live. So one of the comments is I'm finding that due to ascension symptoms associated with the journey have been giving some individuals sacred pauses. Are you finding that as well?
I think a lot of people are. They will take you as far as you are ready to go at that point,
Mhm.
and then they do give you a pause. Um, they're trying to be more gentle with the people coming up. But they were not that way with me, let me tell you right now. But they are getting more gentle. The waking up is more gentle than it used to be. Um, Not sure why that is, but you will only be able to learn as much as you're able to learn.
Well,
And
they said that it involves a lot of reprogramming, so it can't be as quick and fast as it used to be because there's so much more information out there and people doubt more and then people do more research and people look everything up online and they're saying that now they're showing me a connect the dots.
yeah,
So there's like so when somebody starts to wake up, they try and connect all the dots, and that's really not how the journey goes.
right.
So just interesting. So somebody also said that I think I needed the red dot this afternoon. I went to take a nap. It ended up being a 4 hour nap. I woke up and I didn't know where I was woke up and I do know I was not at home. Don't know where I was.
Yeah, that has happened to me as well. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
guides or people around you asking, did of you your time. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either.
So yeah. So I think and we talked about this before. It's like, you know, our viewer asked about the sacred pause. And for me, things get really quiet when they want me to take a pause. Like I won't care as much or I won't get as much messages. Like I think it's really interesting for people who know me well. Like I'll just draw mandalas like there's no tomorrow. They'll just come in
Mhm.
and I'll just keep drawing them and drawing them. And I think it's been a week now, maybe a little over a week since I've drawn one. It's just a really long time for me to not sit down
Yeah.
and create. So now they're backing up in my head. But I haven't felt called to.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really honoring those messages that you get. Because when I feel called to, like sometimes I know I'm supposed to draw one and I'll just drag it out. And then I'm at 11 o'clock at night, I'll start it because I know it has to be done this day on that day. But right now I'm not feeling particularly called to create anything.
Yeah, I've been mentally redoing a book for months, and all of a sudden it's like, nope, don't think about that. And one of the curious things that happens to me when I get too tired and I don't stop, I will literally feel a hand on my forehead and I will be asleep. And it's like, no, we told you to stop. Stop. But I have trouble being still anyway, so but that's what they do with me. It's like, no, we will stop you. Yeah.
Sorry, we're reading comments if you're wondering what we're looking at, why we both stopped talking. So Kelly, you read the comments and I'll keep talking.
Okay. The viewer was asking, this was the question we weren't sure of, was asking if you take a break from guides or from people that ask for time and energy. I think you have to.
Mhm. I think it's about learning balance. Because when you
Yeah.
first start to, everything starts to come back and you start to have your gifts, it's so much fun, right? Because it's all new and it's all really exciting. And you don't realize that you're burning yourself out because it just seems so fun. And the longer you do it, the more you start to say, okay, well, wait, this is too much of an energy surge right now. Like sometimes I feel like I need my own surge protector with my energy field because sometimes the energy that courses through is so high and so strong that it doesn't feel like it's going to end, and that can be really scary if you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be very intense. Um, it's really all about knowing yourself, knowing what you're prepared for, knowing what you can and cannot handle at
Mhm.
any given time. I know there are days where, yeah, bring it on. I'm there. I can handle it. But there are other days where I'm like, okay, maybe not quite as much today. Thank you.
Okay,
Um,
so I'm going to share the wild ride that Mr. Toad has me on right now because it's really interesting. Like the word intense, they keep saying in my head, intense. Think about all the things in earlier times that happened intense. I'm like, hmm, that's really interesting. I don't
interesting.
know why I need to think about that or ponder that, but okay. So they're showing me all these like sacred ceremonies that happened in tents, and they're showing me, and they're like, then they're talking about, and we haven't talked about this before, but it's something I think about how our language is coded.
Yeah.
Like the bottom of our feet are called the soles. We literally walk on the earth with our soles because it's the bottom of our feet that touches the earth, which is the soles of our feet. So when you start to really think about all of those things, it's really interesting when you start to put it all together. Like I remember my spirit team, no idea why I'm off on this tangent. I'm just trusting.
Go with it.
I remember my spirit team gave me a lecture about stoplights.
Huh.
And I thought it was really interesting because there, even that is coded into our DNA and how we think about things. Just
Mhm.
think about stoplights for a minute. Red means stop. Red is our family of origin, our tribal beliefs, the beliefs that fuel our society, and it tells us to stop. Yellow is cautionary. That's our power. And then it's interesting, green is our heart and means
Right.
go. So, like, when you really stop to think about some of the meanings behind all these things, it's really interesting. I don't know if you've ever thought about that before, but it's really interesting when you really start to think about it.
It is. It is. But the universe itself is always talking to us and always giving us signs. It's just when I think governments, more than anything else, come in and try to recode things and try to redo things and make people think a certain way, that we have really, if you paid attention to like the spiritual community, whatever that means, um, there's been a huge backlash against cover ups in every way, not only about UFOs, which they've renamed UAPs, but about other things as well as, dimensions and different types of energy. So I think in the
You mean
next couple
in
of
the
years,
certain
it's going to be
states that
interesting.
are around the country that people are around the world that people are experimenting with? You mean those things too?
Yeah. Yeah. Those things too.
One of the questions is, do you recommend using plant medicine and in what capacity?
um, It depends on why. I think everything everything has to have a reason why we do it. Plant medicine, as a rule, is much better for you. In my opinion, I'm not a doctor. Don't even play one on TV. But it's really better than what we call medicine. I think plant medicine's the way to go.
Well,
It does
all medicine really starts from
from
plants.
plants. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's all chemically shifted and changed and aligned. But I don't mean to misspeak, but wasn't that the job of the shamans and the medicine people, was to use all the different plants and herbs?
Yeah, we play with fun ones. Yeah.
So one of the questions is, who are your most influential teachers?
Ooh, there's too many to really single out one for me. I mean, down from when I was a kid, and there was a questionable group of people down at the end of the street.
I've had a lot of influential teachers. I think that everybody is your teacher,
Yeah.
because everyone is kind of a mirror reflecting back to you what you need to currently work on. So when you have a teacher in your life, and what do they say? Those who can't teach, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I honestly think everyone is a teacher, and we can learn something from everybody that we come into contact with.
What I have found
Good
is
space. When I'm not in a good space, I get very frustrated and angry at some of those lessons that I'm supposed to be learning that I don't want to be.
right, right. You know, it's funny how that works, though. Oftentimes the teacher will appear and the lessons are like, no, I am not doing that. Forget it. No, no way. You can't make me, you know. So,
So I guess asking two people who are a little bit stubborn and a little oppositional at times who their most influential teachers are. I will say for me though, I think one of the people who started me, two people started me um, on my path was Joan Borisenko when I read her book Mind Over Matter,
mhm,
because that was one of the first books I read. And then I think my other, probably, I mean, I've worked with a lot of people too, but like
yeah,
from books and stuff, I would probably say Carolyn Mace, and like learning about energy and things like that. I think for me, that shifted a lot of things. And when I read those books, then I want, and I think the way I learned about the chakras was from Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb, because in
I'll live, yeah.
the book it had all the chakras. I'm like, this is so cool. How do I learn more about this?
Right.
So I think that, again, everything, I think as I delved more into it, like I loved a lot of books by Barbara Marciniak about the
Yeah.
Palladians and things like that. I think there's so many people out there with so many amazing messages. The only thing I will say to you is to, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't force it.
Right.
Because not all teachers are going to resonate with you. And somebody wrote, Gail Alexander, one of my most teachers. Okay. Thank you for the shout out. I appreciate that. And I think the other part of that is, I think when a teacher's being authentic.
Yeah.
For me, I need my teachers to be authentic. I need them to practice what they preach, and I need them to walk the path that they talk about. And I've had some teachers who don't do that, and that's been very frustrating for me.
I think that's an area where social media has been really bad because anyone can go online and be anyone they want to be. And you really have to do some research in what I call real life. What are these people doing when they're not on social media?
Mhm.
And that was really that's been really brought home to me several times when I've had clients contact me and they're talking about this other person that they studied with, and it's concerning. I'll be nice. it's concerning to me that there are people out there that really don't know what they're doing. And you can do a lot of damage
Mhm,
with energy work if you don't know what you're doing.
mhm.
So be careful when you're online if you're looking for a mentor or a teacher. That, there's even somebody to work with. It's critical that you do that work. Investigate, investigate, investigate.
Yes, the person who made the comment that I was their most influential teacher took it back. She said she was just sucking it.
She didn't take it back. Just being honest.
It is something that happens sometimes. Like, I know when I was a therapist, I used to get the nickname from different groups of the people I worked with. They would always call me Guru Gail, and I'm like, stop calling me that. But because I was authentic and I was um, whatever I said I would do, and if I said I would follow up, I always did. So
That was weird.
what?
Oh, I just had something go by the window, so that's all right.
Yeah, I haven't had orbs in a while. They've disappeared again. So
They'll be back. They will be back. Yep.
I kind of miss them. I got used to seeing them all the time.
Yeah.
So
I think I don't know why they want me to say this, but you mentioned earlier if something did not resonate with you, don't force it. And I just heard, doesn't mean it isn't eventually going to resonate. So don't just throw something away because you tried it once or you looked at it once and it didn't work. It might be something to keep in the back of your head, because if you were drawn to it in
mhm,
the first place, most likely at some point you're going to go down that road.
mhm,
Um, that it kind of, my journey started when I was a very, very tiny kid. I've always had spirits around me. I've always had different beings around me. And what I found eventually, I went into shamanism. And when I think about it, it's because of all of those early childhood experiences that I had.
mhm.
I had a cat at the back door talking to me when I was a toddler in a walker. That's when it started for me. Yeah, you do outgrow teachers.
Mhm.
You definitely do outgrow teachers.
What's the famous saying? Some stay for a season, some stay for a lifetime, something like that.
Yeah, and some for a reason. Yeah. Um, yeah, and I had teachers early on
Mm.
um, that have remained friends. I've had mentors that became friends.
That's a hard one when you cross that because they can never really go back to being a mentor.
Right, right. It's really
So
hard.
you have to be really ready to kind of cross that chasm.
I had one mentor who literally threw me out of her house. She's like, "You do not need to be here." but we're still friends today. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard. It's really hard. And if you're not careful, they can become a crutch.
Mhm,
And that's what she was seeing in me. And it's like,
mhm.
no, I don't want to go forward by myself. No, you can't make me. That's always my go-to is no, you can't make me. Turns out they can. But just go with the flow. When it's time to move on. It's just, as humans, we don't like change a whole lot. So we kind of keep ourselves stuck
Mhm.
when we should be moving forward.
This is true. Are there any things that we haven't covered this evening that those of you who are watching us live would like us to talk about? We are all the student and the teacher step in and out of these roles as required.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true, but I think it's hard sometimes when you've had a mentor and you become friends with that mentor because then you see them as a human being. They're not the mentor anymore.
Yeah.
And
How
then
dare you not be divine? Yeah.
it's hard then they can't really ever go back to being your mentor.
No.
But yes, we are the students and the teachers. I completely agree with that. I wonder what other tangents they're going to make me talk about this evening.
Could be anything. I'm hearing a lot of chatter.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes when you hear so much at the same time, separating out what the most important thing they want to talk about is.
They want
But
us to talk a little bit about mediumship.
yeah,
Um, Not sure why, but they're like, because I feel like there's a lot of people who will be watching this who are having experiences of loved ones visiting them, and they know it's not really a dream, but they don't know how to talk
right,
about it.
right.
So,
Uh, There are so many different ways to communicate across the veil, especially these days.
mhm,
Um, and every medium is a little bit different.
mhm,
So it's really just like a teacher or mentor, finding the right medium is important too, because sometimes I have kind of scared people a little bit. And it's not that I certainly don't mean to scare anyone,
um,
but sometimes the information comes through in such a way that all I can do is say what they're saying. And there is no time for sugarcoating or making things nice. And it sometimes that scares people. But having said that, there's always some information from the other side that will help you.
mhm,
Um, Most recently, I have worked with clients using the other side to help retrieve and heal trauma that
mhm,
people, because we always bury trauma, we just do. And that's something that I've done. I know other people who have pulled information from the other side for future stuff.
mhm,
I tend to not do that, primarily because I know the future is fluid.
mhm.
And what is set in stone today is going to be washed out to sea tomorrow.
I was thinking back to one of my Akashic record teachers, and I'll let
I'm
you
sorry. I said I was sorry.
I'll let you drink first. And and I don't know, we were in class, and I think I was doing a reading for somebody, and she was watching the reading, and she's like, "Where the hell are you?" I'm like, "I'm in the Akashic record." She's like, "I have never been here before. What is this, the nosebleed section?"
Yes.
And I'm like, "Yes. Isn't this where you go? This is where I go every time I'm in the Akashic records." So she was not very happy with me at the time. She's like, "Well, how did you get here?" I'm like, "The same way you get into the Akashic." I'm like, "I read the prayer and this is where I go. I don't understand how this isn't where you go." So we got into this huge discussion. So he's like, "Well, what level of the records are you in?" Like, "Well, obviously the one I'm supposed to be in for me." She's like, "This is giving me a headache."
Yep.
I'm like, "Well, then maybe you're not supposed to be up here with me." But it was just so interesting because then it's like, your human self is like, "Well, am I doing this wrong?
Right.
Like, why am I not where everybody else is supposed to be? Why? I don't understand. You're supposed to be my teacher. You're supposed to be having these being able to help me with these experiences. And you're basically telling me you've never seen where I am before."
Right.
So,
And there was the person that did a reading on me, and I scared them to death, pretty much. Always
yes.
to this day. Don't know where I made them go, but it wasn't pleasant.
Have I ever had any experiences with ectoplasms? I'm trying to. I think I have. I just can't remember.
Doing paranormal investigations, it's actually not as uncommon or uncommon as you would think. It does happen. There have been times on investigations I really truly wish the Ghostbusters were real and we could have that little machine.
Mhm,
But the one thing to remember is that nothing is inherently good or inherently evil.
mhm,
All depends on Number one, our perspective of the situation, because you can have something going on that is perfectly benign, and by you feeding it fear, you turn it. And I've seen that happen too. But ectoplasm is always fun. I always actually kind of like.
A lot of like trans mediums and stuff will have ectoplasm from when they're doing readings and stuff.
Yeah,
When spirit comes in. And if you cut the ectoplasm, you can do damage to the human who's, doing
yeah,
channeling. So,
yeah. Stay calm. That's
mhm.
always the best thing. When anything happens that you're not comfortable with, stay calm, because your fear will feed it and make it worse.
Mhm.
That's like rule number one in paranormal investigating. Do not be afraid because you will feed them. Um, but be calm, write it out. Um, Best not to be alone, when where things are happening, but it will pass. It will pass. I'm wondering what your experience with ectoplasm has been that you have
Feel free to write that in the comment section. So yeah, I think though, I always think it's interesting because we try and have a topic for the show, and then I think whenever we do shows where we try and have a topic, we stay on it for about 2 minutes and that's it.
Mhm.
So today
Right.
we had no topic. We decided to just because we weren't going to do a show this week, we were going to just wait till next week. But I don't know why we both felt the need to do it. So obviously, people who are going to be watching this needed to hear this today, which is why we're doing this today.
Right. Right. Oh, physically experience. It depends on the situation. It will knock you off balance usually,
Mhm.
but normally it will pass through, or sounds weird, but it will back out. It can do either one. Normally passes through, and it does give you the heebie-jeebies for about 5 minutes.
Mhm. Now I'm just seeing Ghostbusters, ghosts around. Just
Yeah,
interesting.
paranormal equipment has not yet gotten to that point.
Yeah, there might be. We just might not know about it.
I would hope with the group of people that I investigate with, we would know.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Another one of those secrets.
Mm. So, do you guys have any last questions or things you want us to cover before we kind of start to wrap this episode up? Right? Not. All right, everybody. Thanks for all those who are part live watching us. If questions or comments come up while you're watching the replays, please feel free to reach out to Kellie. What is your email address?
I don't remember. Fitzgerald, TOO at yahoo.com, or intuitive medium Kellie with an IE Fitzgerald.com works as well.
And you can reach me again. I have a new email address, no nonsense intuitive at gmail.com.
Yay.
Have a fun evening with that one.
Yeah, really, truly.
All right, everybody, have a great one, and we'll see you guys all again next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.